My name is Dave Hahn, and I'm our turfgrass specialist with Alabama Extension. And today I'm going to talk about winter weed control in turfgrass. This is a subject which is something that comes up annually, obviously. In Alabama and throughout most of the Southeast, we are using warm season grasses that go dormant in the wintertime. So sometime soon, they're already starting here in Auburn. Our grasses are going to be mostly brown and dormant, and that highlights our winter weeds. So although they're mostly a cosmetic problem, we'll get into this in a minute, because most of the winter weeds that you find in turfgrass in Alabama are going to be annual plants that die in the summertime, and so they're really not competitive with the turf during the time of year when the grass is actively growing. They could still present problems in the wintertime. So we're going to talk about those here. So just I got a little bit ahead of myself, but to reiterate, most of the plants, the weeds that I'll be talking about, are winter annuals. That is, plants that go through their life cycle starting in the fall, and then they die in the springtime, and they have to come back from seed every single year. They don't have any kind of a storage organ, which would enable them to have a perennial type of life cycle. Okay, now for some of these, here we are at the end of November. Some of these have been germinating for quite a while. Some winter annuals start coming up in September and October, even in the deep South. But it's not too late, and we'll talk about those. Okay, we'll leave for another time. I've done webinars before on summer annual weeds, so we're going to focus on the winter ones today. Things like, this is a good selection of the types of annual winter weeds you might find in the Southeast. We got some field madder here. That's the thing with the little white flowers, and the world leaves. We got henbit. That's this thing sticking up. In this picture, it's got kind of yellowish leaves. It's looking like it needs a little nitrogen in this picture. We got some annual bluegrass here and some other things, but this actually photo came out of my backyard from this past winter, so the winter of 21-22. And I got to tell you, you'd never know these were there right now. I mean, you know, they die. The grass, I have a Bermuda grass lawn, it took it back over, and it looked great all summer long, but it did look kind of rough in the wintertime. Okay, now, I talked about the fact that these are annual plants. For the most part, all the plants in this last picture are annual plants. And that means that we can use pre-emergent herbicides to target them. Remember, though, that pre-emergence, the timing is critical with them because they have to be in the soil at the time that the weed seeds are trying to germinate. Pre-emergent herbicides don't actually kill seeds that are just sitting in the soil lying dormant. They kill germinating seedlings. All right. So, like I said, it's the end of November, and the germination window for a lot of winter annuals has been open for several weeks. So if you did not apply a pre-emergent in, say, September or early October, that time frame, should you apply one now? What about if you did apply in, say, early September, okay? And it's been 8 or 9 weeks, at least, maybe more than that. Might be pushing 10 or 12 weeks since you put that out. Should you put another dose down? I think the answer in both of those cases is going to be yes. Okay. Most winter annual weeds have a long enough germination window that even at this time of year, we've still got many weeks of germinating to come still. So yes, it's worthwhile to put out a pre-emergent now, even if you didn't put one out before. And if you did put one out, especially very early in the fall, it's time to start thinking about that second application, because most pre-emergents have about an 8 to 12 week residual activity in the soil. That depends a little bit on the herbicide you're using, depends on the weather too. But we haven't had all that unusual of fall. I mean, it was dry at the beginning of fall into summer, and that delayed some germination of winter weed seeds, actually. especially in unirrigated lawns and other turf areas that didn't get water during the drought. But it's also stayed fairly warm with some cool spells. That's pretty normal for around here temperature wise. But do remember this. If you are going to put out a pre-emergent herbicides, it does have to be in the soil. And that usually means you're going to have to put them out either right before it rains or irrigate within a few days, usually about 72 hours after you put out your pre-emergent herbicide, in order to make sure that that herbicide gets down into the soil where the seeds are. Because when a seed starts to germinate, it's absorbing a lot of water from the soil solution. That's where you want the herbicide to be. That's how it's going to absorb that herbicide. Okay. It's not like a post-emergent herbicide, where you can spray it on the foliage and the plant can take it in through the leaves, because germinating seeds don't have any leaves yet. Okay. So with all of that said, probably two of the biggest weeds that everybody targets in the wintertime are these guys right here: annual bluegrass and lawn burrweed. Now, annual bluegrass is everywhere. It is probably the definition of the ubiquitous weed. You cannot keep it out. I'm sorry, but that's just not possible. There's so many annual bluegrass seeds everywhere. Birds poop them out. Animals move them. They travel in water. If you've got standing water or water running over a patch of grass when it rains, it's probably transporting annual bluegrass seeds. So it's really impossible to keep seeds out of a given patch of turf. So we have to think about things like pre or post-emergent herbicides. Now, annual bluegrass, and I'll talk about lawn burrweed here after annual bluegrass. Annual bluegrass is a plant that is extremely variable. So you've got biotypes of Poa annua that can germinate at a soil temperature of 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, that's, summertime soil temperatures actually. These things can germinate, and like we're seeing coming up in August. But we can also get biotypes of Poa that can germinate in 50-degree soil. Okay, in Alabama, that's December, or well, actually it's probably January, February. I'm sure the soils are warmer than that right now. I should have looked before the webinar to see what they are today, but I forgot to. So with Poa, because it's able to germinate under such a wide variety of soil temperatures, it's a huge germination window. It basically opens in like late August, early September, and it doesn't really shut till end of March or maybe even into April some years. So for that reason, you got to keep a pre-emergent in the soil if you want to control it pre-emergent, which means, September, and then again, maybe first week or so of December. And then when you come to the end of January and you start thinking about your pre-emergence for the summer annuals that are going to start coming up in February and March, you're still going to get Poa control out of those as well. You could try to do it with repeated post-emergent applications as well, but remember, that Poa is going to keep coming up all winter long. So yes, there are a lot of post-emergent herbicides that will kill Poa annua, but you got to keep at it, okay, because those seeds will keep coming up. So you can eradicate all the Poa that's up today, and by Christmas, there'll be a new flush up, and you'll have to hit it again. Fortunately, though, the grass is usually dormant by or very close to being dormant by that time of year throughout most of the state. And so that brings into play some of the cheaper non-selective herbicides as well. For lawn burrweed, the key to lawn burrweed, and the reason why everyone worries about it, is that by the time March and April roll around, it will have made these fruits which have these sharp spines on them, okay? So right now, I'm gonna go back to this slide here. Right now, the lawn burrweed that's up, the biggest of it is gonna be looking about like this. And actually, most of the lawn burrweed that's up isn't even that big, okay? This is another picture that I took in my backyard. These are water oak leaves to give you a sense of scale there. And you can see that early in the year, it's pretty nondescript, low to the ground, might even be covered up by leaf litter, okay? You may miss it. By the time it's got these spiky fruits on it in March, if you step on it with bare feet, you'll know it's there. The problem is that time of year, so in like 3 months from now, all right, it's going to be too late to prevent the plant from making these spiky fruits. So the time to kill it is now. If you have some up, there's almost every single herbicide that's got a label for killing broadleaf weeds and turf will kill lawn burrweed. It's not hard to kill, but again, you will probably have to make several applications of a post-emergent herbicide if that's all you use, because the seeds will keep coming up all winter long. Or you can put a pre-emerge down and try to keep the lawn burrweed from ever coming up. But if you do that, you have to make sure that you inspect in January or February to make sure that you can kill any escapes before they make these spiky seed pods. Because if you put an herbicide on this when it's in this condition, this is from last March, you will kill the plant, but the dead husk of this fruit will still have sharp spines on it. It will still hurt when you step on them. And that's the major issue with lawn burrweed, is just it hurts to step on. If you get it in an athletic field, obviously it's going to create a safety hazard for players as well. So you definitely want to be on the lookout for it now through end of January, especially. Scout for this weed, kill it if you have it. Other things that come up in the wintertime are mostly cosmetic issues. Poa can get so thick, and sometimes it hangs around long enough in the summertime that you worry about it maybe setting back the warm season grass that's underneath it for a while. That's why people control it. But most of the reasons why you control things like henbit or dead nettle or chickweeds or clovers or things like that is because simply they're green when everything else is not. And again, that's more of a cosmetic thing. But we see lots of henbit. That's another winter annual. This is in the mint family. Red dead nettle. They have flowers that look a lot alike, but as you can see, the leaves are not all that similar. Although when they're growing right next to each other like this, sometimes they do get mistaken for each other. But you do often see them growing side by side like that. Like I said, we've got lots of different both pre and post emergent options. But I want to stress again, pre-emergence herbicides can fail for a lot of reasons. Not all of them are applicator error. Sometimes they are. You're simply mixing up the wrong rate or not getting good coverage. But one thing that I have already mentioned is they have to be watered in. Another thing which I want to mention is that pre-emergence herbicides, if there is too much rain, like say you put it down and then the next week there's a hurricane that drops, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 inches of rain. That, especially on sandy coastal plain soils, is often enough to leach your herbicide too far down into the soil profile. It gets below where the seeds are germinating. Most weed seeds in turfgrass are in that top inch, really the top half inch or so of the soil profile. So that's where you want your herbicide to be. If your herbicide gets leached down, 2, 3 inches deep in the soil profile, it won't kill a poa seed that's germinating or a lawn burrweed seed that's germinating. And then also we sometimes do see germination timing messed up by unusual weather. It is normally dry in the fall in the southeast, but if it's super dry or super warm, that can delay germination of some of the winter annual weeds. Also, an early frost can cut off germination of some, but not all weeds, especially if it then, or I shouldn't say early frost, early hard freeze, especially if it stays cool. Now, if it gets warm again the next week after we've had, 25 or so degree weather, things will pick up and it'll start germinating again. And that's not unusual either. Okay, let me just talk very briefly in the couple of minutes we've got left about post-emergent options. Most of the winter weeds are pretty susceptible to our commonly used herbicides. That's not the case with the summer annual and summer perennial weeds. Some of those can be kind of hard to kill with posts, but winter ones are going to be on balance much easier to kill with a post-emergent herbicide than summer weeds are. There are a lot of products out that contain, either one or more often a mixture of active ingredients for killing, especially annual broadleaf weeds. And these all do a pretty good job on your selection of winter weeds and turf. So from that standpoint, if you just want to go in and clean up lawn that's got clover, henbit, chickweed, field madder, whatever in the wintertime, you can use a lot of different things and they'll work. And I'll put up a link at the end of my webinar to our commercial hort weed control guide that's on the extension website. So y'all can look at that for the latest recommendations. But I did want to mention that if you're a homeowner and you're looking on the homeowner side for things to use, this slide here, these are all professional products and these are aimed at professionals, even though in this day and age, you can go on Amazon and get most of these products delivered right to your house, even if you're not a professional. But if you're going to a garden center somewhere, you want to make sure that you understand what's a pre and what's a post-emergent product. And the way to tell that is if it says weed and grass killer on it, it's a post-emergent product or weed control, okay? If it says it's a weed preventer, then it's a pre-emergent product, okay? When the grass is dormant, it doesn't matter as much, but you should still be careful if you have a centipede or St. Augustine grass lawn. A lot of times you'll see different formulations of herbicides for centipede and St. Augustine grass lawns than you do for Bermuda or zoysia lawns. And that's just due to the increased sensitivity that centipede and St. Augustine have to herbicides. If you're in South Alabama, along the coast, anywhere in the Southeast, and you've got like say centipede or St. Augustine, in the wintertime, especially when it's not fully dormant, keep paying attention and use the right formulation for your grass, just like you would in the summertime, okay? So for an example, here on the right side, we got Roundup for lawns, 2 different formulations. One, it says for use on southern lawns in purple there, that means St. Augustine centipede. Okay, so that's the formulation you should use for those grasses. All right, and then I should also say this, looking ahead to like that March, April timeframe, when a warm season grass is just coming out of dormancy and just starting to green up, stay off of it with any post-emergent herbicide. They get really strange and act really wonky during that period when they're just greening up, and things that are normally, for 11 months of the year that they're perfectly safe to use can damage grasses that are just greening up. And that goes for all of the warm season grasses, Bermuda zoysia, centipede, St. Augustine, seashore paspalum if you have it, Bahia grass, anything, okay? So just when we're in that spring green up period, be really cautious using post-emergent herbicides, okay? Finally, I'll mention this again. This right here I kind of blew past. These are the active ingredients to look for to kill the different categories of weeds. Sedges in the wintertime, we really don't have sedge problems. It's mostly broadleaves and a few cool season grasses like Poa annua, but it's mostly broadleaf. So we mostly want to look at broadleaf herbicides, and you can get things that'll kill Poa as well. I guess I should mention you can also use Roundup or whatever your favorite non-selective herbicide is if the grass is 100% dormant underneath. And if it's not, then I wouldn't do that. But the key is persistence with post-emergent weed control. Like I said, I know this is a picture from the summertime, but this is one of our interns at Auburn at a golf course. They go out and spot spray for certain hard to control weeds post-emergent like every other week or every week in some cases. Persistence. Many annual weeds have lots of seeds that can germinate all season long. Okay. Alrighty. And then finally, I just wanted to mention this. There is one summer annual grass that's actually, you should spray for it right now. Or actually maybe not even right now, because in most of the state, I don't think we're fully dormant yet. So I'd say you should spray for it in another couple weeks after we get our next cold spell. I took this picture in December on campus a couple of years ago. This is targeting Dallas grass in a Bermuda grass lawn on the Auburn campus. This is a summer perennial grass, but it tends to stay green really late, way after turf grasses go dormant. And so that's a good time to hit it with like Roundup or something, to kill it. And even though it's a summer weed, hitting it with Roundup in the fall is real effective in killing it. I've showed this slide many times, but in case you haven't seen it before, this is how good a control you can get of Dallas grass next spring if you use Roundup in the fall. Okay, so anyways, like I said, I'm going to put up the a link to the commercial commercial turf weed control publication here in a minute. But before I do that, I want to make sure that you understand also, if your grass goes into the wintertime lush and thick and healthy, it's going to have fewer weed problems, just like in the summertime. If it's thick and healthy, it has fewer weed problems. Weeds generally do tend to show you when you've got an unhealthy turf that's uncompetitive. So with that, there's the promised link to the commercial turf weed IPM guide. If someone has been monitoring the Facebook, if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them at this point.